The first time my own name showed up in the deceased index, I didn't even flinch. I was already elbow deep in moldy deed books and pissed off at the building for leaking again. Basement records in the county courthouse is where paper goes to rot. People upstairs talk about the archive like it's some clean, climate control museum. Bullshit. It's a concrete box that smells like wet cardboard and old piss, with metal shelves that sweat in summer and bite your hands in winter. The lights flicker when the elevator moves. The humidity eats staples. The air tastes like dust you can't cough out. I was the one down there because nobody else wanted it. I wasn't a historian. I wasn't some romantic who loved old documents. I needed a job with insurance and a steady check after my divorce, and this was the slot they had. You learn fast. Keep the scanners running. Keep the request slips moving. Don't lose a book. Don't argue with lawyers. People treat records like religion when they want something. That morning started like 1,000 other mornings. The basement sink dripped slow. The dehumidifier rattled like a dying engine. I jammed a roll of paper towels under the corner where the leak always found a way through, and it still came anyway. Thin brown water, like coffee that's been reheated too many times. I told myself I'd put in another maintenance ticket because I always told myself that, and maintenance always came down 3 days later and stared at it like it was a philosophical question. Upstairs, the county attorney's office had dumped a card of death certificates on us with a sticky note that said make sure index today in that loud, all-caps handwriting people use when they don't want to be responsible. No please. No thanks. Just a demand and a date. Marcy, my supervisor, called down from 2, voice already sharp. Don't let those sit. We get audited and it's my ass. It's always your ass, I muttered, but I said, yeah, I'm on it, because the job wasn't worth dying on that hill. And I wasn't in the mood for a fight yet. I rolled the card into the basement anyway, because that's where the old terminal was. They'd upgraded the office computers upstairs, but the indexing software ran cleaner down here for some stupid legacy reason. The county loves saving pennies and spending dollars. The basement terminal sat in a stained cubicle with a cracked fake wood desk. The chair squeaked. The monitor had a permanent smudge like someone once sneezed on it and wiped it with their sleeve. I logged in. The system took its sweet time like it was doing me a favor. I started the routine I could do with my eyes closed. Birth, death, case number, filing date. Click, enter, click, enter. My hands worked and my brain drifted. I was thinking about lunch. I was thinking about my rent being due. I was thinking about the way my ex's new partner had smiled at me at the last pickup like I was a stray dog they tolerated. I was thinking about anything except the names. Some of the names stuck anyway. Babies, old people, a 38-year-old who went down on a job site, one woman with a note in the margin that said, pending toxicology. People think records are clean. They're not. They're just quiet. You can read grief in handwriting, in ink pressed too hard, in signatures that look like someone's hand was shaking while they tried not to. Around 11, the basement got colder the way it sometimes does when the HVAC decides it hates you. I rubbed my hands together, cracked my knuckles, kept typing. Then I typed my own last name, and the system auto-suggested it. Not because it was common, because it was already there. I stared at the screen. Same spelling, same middle initial, same birth date. Under status, it said deceased. Under filed, it showed a timestamp, 11:06 a.m. I checked the wall clock because my brain couldn't accept coincidence without checking it like it's a math problem. 11:06 a.m. on the dot. The second hand sat right on it, smug. For a second, I felt that stupid, itchy laugh you get when you think you're being pranked. But nobody pranks in basement records. Nobody even comes down there unless they have to. The janitors don't like it. IT doesn't like it. Even deputies come down here and hurry their feet like they're walking past a dark alley. I clicked the entry. It opened like any other, clean and boring, until I saw the cause field. Cause, clerical correction. No disease. No karas. No ganschat. Just correction. My first thought was, wrong record, wrong merge, some idiot in vital stats pulled a bad import. My second thought was, why the hell is it time-stamped right now? Like the system waited until I looked. I tried to back out, and the terminal lagged. The cursor froze. My fingertips went cold, like the air dropped 10 degrees in one breath. The light above me flickered and made that soft buzzing sound fluorescent bulbs make when they're dying, except it didn't sound like dying. It sounded like something chewing slowly. I did what I always do when something glitches. I swore at it and hit refresh. The entry disappeared. Not grayed out, not hidden, gone, like it never existed. I sat there with my hands on the keyboard, waiting for adrenaline to show up like it was late for work. Nothing happened. No pounding heart. No dizziness. Just the basement smell, the hum of the scanner, and a pressure behind my eyes like I'd been staring at snow too long. I told myself it was a database hiccup, a ghost entry, a test record someone forgot to delete. The county system is held together by duct tape and unpaid interns. Fine, whatever. So I forced my shoulders to loosen. I went back to the cart. I started indexing again. I made myself stare at names like they were nothing. At 11:07, the elevator thunked somewhere above and the lights blinked like someone pinched the power line. At 11:08, my phone buzzed with Marcy's number. I answered with my shoulder pinned to my ear so my hands could keep moving. "Why isn't the morning request batch uploaded?" she snapped. "I'm mid-index," I said, and I hated how normal my voice sounded. "We don't get to be mid-anything," she said. "Move your ass." Her voice always sounded like she wanted a bite through drywall. That wasn't new. Marcy could make good morning sound like a threat. I uploaded the batch. The scanner coughed. The terminal thought about it. The confirmation screen came up. I printed the sheet. The basement printer squealed like a small animal being stepped on. I grabbed the warm paper, smudged the toner with my thumb, and trudged upstairs. The stairwell out of the basement is narrow and smells like bleach and old stone. Half the time, a motion light doesn't catch you, and you have to walk in darkness until it decides you exist. This time it clicked on immediately, bright as an interrogation room, and that hit me wrong. Like the building was watching. Marcy's desk was in the records office on 2, behind a counter full of forms nobody reads until they're desperate. I dropped the confirmation sheet on her desk. She didn't look up. She was typing with 2 fingers, jaw clenched like she was chewing nails. "Uploaded," I said. She grunted, still staring at her screen. I turned to leave, and that should have been it. Normal, routine, quiet misery. But as I stepped away, she said, "Who are you again?" I stopped so hard my feet felt like they stuck. It wasn't a joke. Marcy didn't joke. She said it like you ask a stranger in your kitchen why they're holding a cup. "Istir de here." "It's me." She lifted her eyes, finally. Her brows pulled together like she was trying to read fine print. "Who are you?" My mouth went dry in a way that made my tongue feel too big. "I'm in records. I sit in the basement. I've been here 3 months. Marcy frowned, eyes scanning my face like I was a badly printed photo. "We don't have anyone in records in the basement. Records is on 2. I pointed down the hall toward the back stairwell like the gesture alone could anchor reality. "The basement archive. The deed books. The microfilm." She cut me off with a flat little laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "Basement storage. Pipes. You can't even use it. I'm literally down there every day." She waved her hand like she was shooing a fly. "Okay, sure, whatever. Just don't wander." Security's been edgy. Wander. Like I was a confused old guy in a hospital. Like I didn't have a badge and a job and a schedule and a name. I walked out before my face did something stupid. The hallway felt too bright. The carpet pattern looked wrong, like the lines didn't meet where they should. People passed me, and I watched them on instinct for that little flicker of recognition you usually get when you work in the same building as someone. Tiny nods, half smiles, the shared exhaustion. I got nothing. One woman stepped aside like I was a cart that might hit her. One guy looked through me like his eyes slid off glass. I went down the stairs to the basement door because I needed the basement to still be real. If I could sit in my shitty chair and smell the wet paper and hear the dehumidifier, I could tell myself Marcy was being Marcy and my brain was being dramatic. I swiped my badge. Red light. Denied. I swiped again, slower, like that would help. Denied. I held the badge up to my face. Photo me. Name mine. Department. County clerk. The plastic felt a little warm from my hand. The code strip on the back looked scuffed, like someone had taken sandpaper to it. I tried the door anyway. Locked. I stood there listening. The courthouse has a sound, a constant dull breathing from vents and old machinery. From behind a basement door, I heard paper. Not pages turning. Not one book. Paper rubbing. Like a giant hand shuffling a deck slow and patient. I backed up without meaning to. My shoulder hit the cinder block wall. It was cold enough to sting through my shirt. I did the stupid, bureaucratic thing panic makes you do. I went to security. Like a uniform and a desk could argue with whatever the hell was happening. Calvin was at the desk that day, the guard who always complained about his knees and the coffee. He'd once helped me push a book cart and acted like I'd asked him to haul a refrigerator. He glanced up, bored, then squinted. "What's this?" he said, like I put a dead mouse on his counter. "It's me," I told him. My badge stopped working. Calvin took the badge and turned it over like it was a fake bill. He didn't even scan it at first. He just stared at it, face blank, lips pressed tight. "This isn't an active badge," he said. "It was active this morning." He tapped his keyboard. The keys clicked loud in the quiet lobby. "Employee number?" I said it. I knew it by heart because the county prints it on everything like it's a real name. He typed it. His face didn't change. No record. My skin prickled from scalp to spine like my nerves were trying to climb out. Check payroll. Check HR. Check the schedule. I'm on the fucking schedule. Calvin leaned back like I was about to jump the desk. His hand drifted toward the radio on his shoulder. "You can't be in restricted areas without clearance. If you're a contractor, you need an escort." Contractor? I almost laughed, but it came out sharp. "I'm not a contractor." "Then prove it." He slid my badge back across the desk with 2 fingers, like it was dirty. The plastic made a soft scrape on the counter, and that sound stuck in my teeth. I stepped away, trying to breathe like a normal person, like I wasn't being erased in real time. I pulled out my phone. I called HR, straight to voicemail. I called the payroll line. Busy signal, like it was 1998. I called the records office main number. It rang and rang until it clicked off. Fine. I tried something else. I tried the county employee portal app, because everything has an app now. It asked for my login. I typed it. It said invalid. I typed it again. I watched my own fingers like they might betray me. Invalid. I tried forgot password. The screen asked for my employee email. I typed it. It spun for a second, then said account not found. My stomach did a slow roll. It tasted bile. I called my ex because I needed a human anchor, someone who would at least recognize my voice. I didn't even want him to be kind. I just wanted him to say my name like it meant something. He picked up on the 3rd ring. "Hello." "It's me," I said, and my voice cracked on the word like it had to climb over broken glass. There was a pause. Not a dramatic pause. A pause like he was looking at his phone, trying to figure out whether to hang up. "Who is this?" he said. That one hit harder than Marcy. Harder than Calvin. My ex used to know every annoying habit I had, every dumb little story, every scar. He knew how I chewed ice. He knew I hated olives. He knew the dumb way my laugh snorted when I tried not to laugh. Now his voice sounded clean, empty, like I was a spam call. I swallowed. My throat felt tight, not from tears, from something else. Pressure, like being underwater. "It's me. Come on. Stop," he said, impatient now. "I don't know you. Don't call this number again." He hung up. I stood there in the courthouse lobby with the phone pressed to my ear like I could squeeze sense out of it. The lobby smelled like floor polish and old air. The big seal on the wall looked too glossy. People walked past me. A couple argued quietly about a parking ticket. A woman bounced a baby on her hip. Normal life. Normal light. And I was standing in it like a stain nobody wanted to see. There's an overhead TV in the lobby that plays local news with the sound off, captions on. I didn't want to look at it, but my eyes kept snagging on motion like an animal's. The caption crawl slid across the bottom. weather, sports, closings, some city council thing. I watched it without meaning to. At 11:06, the crawl stuttered. For one frame, one blink, it switched to a single line, center like the TV had decided to speak directly to me. Clerical correction in progress. Then went back to weather like nothing happened. I stared so hard my eyes watered. I looked around like someone else had to have seen it. Nobody reacted. People kept walking. Calvin kept typing. The baby kept bouncing. If the TV had screamed my name, I don't think anyone would have turned. That's when the cold fear finally showed up. Not a jump scare panic. A slow, sinking feeling like you realize the floor has been tilting for a while, and you just noticed. I couldn't stay in a lobby. I couldn't stand there while my life got rewritten around me. I needed proof. Physical proof. Paper doesn't lie the way people do. That was the whole point of my stupid job. Paper sticks. Paper survives fires and divorces and bad decisions. Paper outlasts you. So I went back to records on 2. The records office looked the same at first glance. Copiers, filing cabinets, stale coffee smell, wall posters about public service excellence curling at the edges. But my desk was wrong. My chair was gone. The cheap nameplate I'd bought with my own money was gone. The little stress ball shaped like a gavel gone. The sticky notes I'd left like breadcrumbs were peeled off, so clean the desk looked and used. In my spot sat a guy I'd never seen before. Younger than me. Neat hair. Clean hands. Shirt tucked in like he cared. He was filing request slips with his steady rhythm like he'd been doing it for years. He looked up and smiled like a customer service brochure. "Can I help you?" he said. I walked closer because anger is a stupid kind of courage. "Who the hell are you?" He blinked. "I'm in records." "No," I said. My voice came out flat and ugly. "I'm in records." His smile did that polite twitch people do when they think you're about to be a problem. "Okay." I leaned on the counter, knuckles white. "Where's Marcy?" He tilted his head, still friendly, still wrong. "Marcy." I looked over his shoulder. Marcy's desk was there. Marcy was there. She was typing like always. I could see her jaw clenched. She didn't look up. If she saw me, she didn't show it. The guy followed my gaze and nodded like he was humoring me. "Supervisor's busy," he said. "If you need records, take a number." "I don't need records," I snapped. "I need my job back." His smile tightened. "Sir, you're upsetting people." I looked around. A woman at the counter glanced my way, then looked away like she hadn't. A deputy near the entrance shifted his stance, hand resting closer to his belt. Everyone had that tiny alert posture like the building itself had nudged them and said, "Pay attention. Something's off." I swallowed hard and forced my voice down. "Where's the basement key?" The guy's eyes went colder. His face didn't change much, but the temperature did. Like a room when someone opens a freezer. "There is no basement archive," he said. "Bullshit." He stood up. That's when I noticed he wore the same badge clip style I did. Same lanyard color. Like the county issued it. He reached to his chest, turned his badge outward, and I saw his name. My name. Same last name. Same middle initial. Same first name. Same employee number printed under it like a joke. Different face. It wasn't a disguise. It wasn't me with a beard. It was a different person wearing my identification like it belonged to him. My stomach dropped, so hard my knees buzzed. The room tilted. My throat tightened like my body wanted to gag up my own identity. He watched me like you watch a dog that might bite. "You should leave," he said, still calm, still polite. "You're causing a scene." I wanted to swing at him. I wanted to rip his badge off and shove it in his mouth. I wanted to grab Marcy and shake her until she looked at me and admitted I existed. Instead, I did the only thing I could do without getting tackled. I walked past him toward the back file room, because that's where the old stuff lived. That's where the proof would be. He called after me, voice still mild. "Sir, you can't go back there." I didn't answer. I kept walking. The back file room smelled like toner and dust. Shelves ran in rows. Cabinets lined the wall. The deed books were supposed to be staged there for scanning. The shelves were emptier than they'd been yesterday. Whole rows stripped. The floor looked freshly swept, like someone had moved in and cleaned out evidence. My cart spots, The little scuff marks and tape labels I'd made, because I'm a creature of habit, were gone. Not covered. Gone. Like the floor had never been scuffed. I yanked open a cabinet labeled index cards. Inside were thousands of cards, old school, typed and handwritten. Names, parcel numbers, cross-references. The county ran digital now, but those cards were the spine. They were the ghost of everything. When the database crashed, and it did more often than anyone admitted, those cards were what people came crying for. My hands shook as I flipped through them. The cards made that dry whisper sound like autumn leaves. I found my last name fast. My entry card had a red stamp across it. Void correction. Underneath, in small, neat handwriting, it read, Reassigned 1106. I stared until my eyes watered. My hands shook so hard the cards rattled like teeth. I checked other names I knew, neighbors, co-workers, a judge's clerk, and their card were normal. It wasn't random. It wasn't a glitch. It was surgical, like someone had taken a scalpel to my life and stitched it shut behind them. A shadow crossed the aisle. Footsteps. Not rushed. Not angry. Controlled. I shoved the drawer shut so hard the cabinet rang. Marcy stood there with her arms crossed, face tight. Her eyes weren't sharp with anger. They were wide in a way I'd never seen. Fear held down by habit. What are you doing? She hissed. I work here, I said. My voice was shaking, and I hated that. I'm on payroll. I have a W-2. Marcy's eyes flicked to the cabinet like she didn't want to look at it. Like if she looked too hard, something would notice. Don't dig, she said. You don't want to dig. The way she said it made my stomach drop again. Not a warning like you'll get fired. A warning like you'll get eaten. I stepped closer to her. What is this? Why is my name voided? Marcy swallowed. Her jaw worked like she was grinding down words. Sometimes corrections happen. Who does it? She didn't answer. Her gaze slid past me to the doorway, like she expected someone to be standing there. I pushed. Who, Marcy? She finally looked at me straight on. You're not the first, she said, and her voice cracked on the last word like she tried not to say it for years. My blood ran cold. What the fuck do you mean? I'm not the first. Marcy's mouth tightened. She looked older in that second. Tired. Like the building had been chewing on her too, and she'd learned how to keep her head down. People get cleaned up, she whispered. Loose ends. Complaints. Mistakes. They don't always die. Sometimes they just stop being. Stop being. She lifted a trembling hand and pressed 2 fingers to her own badge like she was checking it was still there. If you let it finish, it's clean. Everyone's fine. The county keeps running. Nobody asks questions. And if I don't, Marcy's eyes flicked down on my hands. I looked too. Ink. I hadn't noticed it before, but there was a faint smudge on my fingertips, black like old toner. Like I'd touched something dirty and it left a stain that wouldn't wash off. Marcy saw it too. Her face tightened like she'd bitten her tongue. Then you get messy, she said. And messy makes it pay attention. I didn't understand what she meant, and I understood it completely at the same time. I stepped back. I need to go downstairs. Marcy grabbed my wrist hard. Her nails dug in. No, don't. I jerked free. My badge doesn't work. That's the point. I heard it. I snapped. Behind the door. Paper. I heard something. Marcy's eyes widened, and for a second, she looked like she might beg. Listen to me, she said low and fast. Go home. Sit on your couch. Don't touch your phone. Don't check the portal. Don't pull records. Don't make it chase you. Maybe it'll what? I said, forget me? Like everybody else. Her mouth opened, then shut. That answer was already there. I walked out, not because I was brave, because I couldn't stand still anymore. Because the thought of sitting quietly while a thing rewrote me out of existence made my skin crawl. I headed for the stairwell to the basement, even though my badge didn't work. I didn't care. I'd shoulder the door. I'd break the lock. I'd do something real, something physical, something that couldn't be erased with a keystroke. The basement door was open, just cracked like someone had left it for me. Cold air poured out, thick with that wet cardboard stink. The light below flickered in slow pulses like a heartbeat. I froze at the top of the stairs, hand on the railing. The air coming up smelled stronger than usual. Not just damp paper, ink too, and something metallic like coins held too long in your mouth. I should have walked away. I didn't. Anger dragged me down the steps like a hand around my neck. Halfway down, I heard again, paper rubbing. Not a single page. A mass of it. Slow, steady like something sorting. And under it, faint a wet clicking sound, soft, rhythmic like a tongue tapping teeth. At the bottom, the hallway was longer than it should have been. The courthouse footprint doesn't allow it. I know because I've pushed carts through every inch of this place. I know where the boiler room sits, where the storage cages are, where the old jury room used to be before they renovated. The basement corridor should end in a cinder block wall with peeling paint and a maintenance closet. But the concrete corridor kept going. It stretched out under flickering lights, straight and patient, like the building had decided to grow a throat. Doors lined both sides. Doors that weren't there yesterday. Each had a little brass label, tarnished, like someone had polished them with dirty fingers. Parcels, births, deaths, marriages, evictions, foreclosures. Each door had a handle that looked worn, like it got used. A lot. My pulse thudded in my ears. But the rest of me felt weirdly calm, like my brain had decided panic was pointless. I walked. My shoes squeaked faint on the concrete, except the sound didn't echo right. The hallway felt padded, like paper stacked thick in walls. I passed the death's door, and the paper rub sound got louder for a second, like whoever was inside shifted closer. My hand brushed the wall and I flinched. The concrete felt smooth, too smooth, like it had been sealed with something, like old glue. At the end, because of course there was an end, it just took longer than it should have, was a door labeled corrections. The handle was cold enough to burn. I grabbed it anyway. The metal bit my skin. I jerked, swore, then held on harder because pain was real and I needed real. I turned the handle. The door opened without resistance, like it wanted to. Inside was a room that made my brain reject what my eyes saw. Metal shelves stretched too far, packed with books that looked like ledger books but thicker, swollen, stitched. The air smelled like ink and wet pennies. The lights buzzed overhead and cast hard shadows that didn't sit right, like they leaned toward the shelves. The shelves weren't just shelves. They were stacked like storage, but the books weren't uniform. Some were thin and crisp like new paper. Some bulged, warped like they'd been soaked and dried wrong. Some had covers that looked soft. Not leather, not cardboard, something in between. In the center stood a desk. It was a heavy steel desk like the county uses everywhere, scratched and dented, except this one was cleaner than any desk in this building has a right to be. On it sat an open ledger the size of car hood. Pages turned by themselves. Not fluttering, not caught by a draft. Lifting and settling slow and deliberate like a lung inhaling. Each time a page landed, I heard a soft click like a stamp. Behind the desk was a filing cabinet taller than a person with one drawer open. Inside were nameplates, cheap plastic plates like the one I'd bought for my desk upstairs. Hundreds of them, stacked like bones. My throat tightened, my mouth filled with saliva like I was about to throw up. I took one step, then another. My feet slid a little. The floor wasn't wet, but it felt slick, like it had been polished with something that wasn't wax. Like it had been rubbed smooth by years of shoes that didn't squeak anymore. The ledger page stopped turning. It lay open on a line that made my scalp prickle. Last name, first name, middle initial, status, corrected. My name. The ink on the page wasn't dry. It looked fresh, glossy, thick. It reflected the buzzing lights like oil. I backed up and my heel hit something. A book on a lower shelf. It rocked and fell. It hit the floor with a heavy slap, like meat. The cover split at the corner, and I saw inside. Thin sheets, but not paper the way paper is supposed to be. Too fibrous, too layered, like skin cured into pages, like something you could peel. I gagged hard and spit on the floor, and the spit looked wrong when it hit. Darker than it should have been, like ink was already mixing into me. From somewhere in the shelves came a whispery sound. Not words, but the shape of words. That same rubbing, shuffling, and under it a faint wet clicking like a tone. I turned to run and saw someone standing in the doorway. Not a monster, not a shadow thing, just a person in county issue clothes, badge clip, lanyard, hands clean as church. The guy from upstairs. My name with a different face. He leaned against the door frame like he owned the place. Like he'd been waiting for me to finally stop pretending I could solve this with a phone call. You weren't supposed to come down here, he said, still calm, still polite, like I'd taken the wrong elevator. My voice came out low and ugly. Give back. He sighed, almost bored. It doesn't work like that. Then how the fuck does it work? He glanced at the ledger like it was a clock. Someone files a correction. Reality follows the index. That's not. I choked on the words. That's not a thing. He smiled slightly, like he'd heard that before. It's the only thing. I stepped toward him, and he didn't move. He didn't flinch. He wasn't scared of me, not even a little, and that lit my anger like gasoline. You're wearing my name, I said. You're sitting at my desk. You. He cut in, still quiet. You were a problem. A problem, I echoed, and it came out like a laugh that wanted to be a scream. You saw the wrong entry, he said. You kept asking. That's how corrections start. The system hates loose ends. The system, I spit. You mean you? He shook his head, almost gently. I mean records. That word, records, hit the room like a command. The shelves gave that soft shudder, like paper settling. The whisper sound swelled, then quieted again like something listening. My hands clenched. You can't just erase me. He held my gaze. His eyes were a weird color, not unnatural, just hard to pin down. Like gray that wanted to be brown and couldn't decide. Like a photocopy that never quite prints right. I can, he said, because you already agreed. What the fuck are you talking about? He nodded toward the open ledger. You clocked in. You indexed. You clicked confirm. You fed it names like it's hungry. You worked for it. My skin crawled because he wasn't wrong. I'd sat at that terminal for months, typing people into existence on paper and out of it. I treated the system like a dumb machine, like it couldn't reach back. I lunged at him anyway. Not heroic, not planned. Pureraje. My hands hit his shirt, and I felt something under it that wasn't flesh the way flesh should feel, too smooth, too flat like laminated layers. He didn't stumble. He didn't even shift his weight. He just caught my wrist with a grip that felt like cold file drawers closing. You're making it harder, he said, voice still even, and that pissed me off more than fear ever could. I thrashed. I tried to yank free. His fingers didn't budge. They were strong in a way that didn't feel muscular. More like mechanical. Like a clamp. I did the dumb animal thing. I leaned forward and bit his forearm. My teeth sank in and I tasted ink. Not blood. Ink and dust. It flooded my mouth, bitter and dry, and I gagged mid-bite. My stomach flipped. I pulled back, spitting black spit onto the floor. He looked down at the bite mark like it was a smudge. The skin there didn't tear. It dented, like paper pressed too hard. You don't want to do that, he said. Fuck you, I said. My voice came out wet. He shoved me back with one hand. I stumbled and my back hit the desk hard enough to knock air out of me. My palms slammed onto the open ledger. The page under my hands was warm. Not warm like paper near a heater. Warm like skin. I froze. Every hair on my arms lifted. My fingers tried to pull away, and for a second they didn't. The ink on the page looked like it moved under my skin, like it recognized the lines in my palms and wanted to fill them. The guy watched me, expression calm, eyes empty. You can finish clean, he said, or you can keep bleeding into the margins. The ledger page flipped itself fast, one after another, and I saw flashes of my life. Not memories, records. My marriage license, my signature too neat like I'd been trying to look like I had my shit together. My divorce decree with the judge's stamp heavy as a fist. My address history, my job application, my background check, the restraining order my neighbor filed once because he thought my dog was aggressive, my speeding ticket, my kid's school emergency contact form, except the name on it blurred when I tried to read it, like the page didn't want me to have it. Each one stamped, filed, indexed, each one a hook. My hand shook. Sweat ran cold down my ribs. Then the pages stopped. They landed on a blank line. No form, no record type, just emptiness waiting to be filled. A pen lay on the desk beside the ledger. Old-fashioned, heavy metal nib. County issue in the way everything here is county issue, except no one uses pens like that anymore. My hand moved toward it without me deciding. My fingers wrapped around it like it was magnetized. I tried to open my hand. It didn't. The guy's voice stayed calm. "Write it," he said. The nib hovered over the blank line. My arm trembled like I was holding a weight I couldn't see. The whisper sound in the shelves grew louder, hungry and patient, like a crowd waiting for a verdict. The nib hovered over the blank line. My arm shook like I was holding a weight I couldn't see. The whispering in the shelves didn't sound like a crowd anymore. It sounded like a throat clearing behind my ear, like something patient was waiting for me to stop being stubborn and just sign where it wanted. "Write it," he said again, like he was telling me to initial a receipt. I tried to twist my wrist so the pen would snap out of my fingers. My hand didn't open. My knuckles went white, tendons screaming, and the pen stayed there, welded to my grip. The metal felt colder than it should have, but the nib felt warm, like it had been in someone's mouth. "Fuck this," I said through my teeth. The pen dipped, not down like a gentle motion. It dropped like gravity, suddenly got mean. The nib touched the paper, and the room reacted. Not a big, dramatic quake. A small, subtle shift, like the shelves leaned in 1 inch to listen. Ink welled up fast. Too fast. It pulled at the nib like it was eager. My hand started to move in little jerks, dragging the nib forward. The first stroke was the beginning of my last name, my real one, and my brain snapped. "No," I growled, and I threw my shoulder into it, yanking my arms sideways like I could dislocate my own wrist if that's what it took. The stroke went crooked. The ink lines scratched across the blank field and dug into the paper like it was carving, not writing. The ledger didn't like it. The page under my hand pulsed warm. The whispering turned to a hiss. The guy in the doorway finally showed something close to irritation. His smile tightened. "Stop fighting it," he said. "You don't get to tell me what to do with my own fucking name." I snapped, spitting out black-tinted saliva. He took 1 step forward. The shelves reacted. I swear to God, the books shifted like a flock of birds settling. He didn't hurry. That made it worse. He moved like time worked for him. "Look," he said, voice still calm, like he was negotiating a parking ticket. "It's not personal. You're not special. You're a line item. A bad one. It's cleaner if you cooperate." "Cleaner for who?" "For everyone," he said, and the word everyone sounded like paperwork. My hand twitched again, dragging the nib back toward the spot where the system wanted my name to live. I felt it in my bones. That's the only way I can describe it, like a tug behind my ribs. I did the only thing that came to me, something dumb and human. I slammed my other hand down on the paper hard enough to sting. I tried to pin the page like pinning a living thing would stop it. The paper felt wrong, not crisp. It gave slightly, like flesh under pressure. I gagged again. Jesus. The whispering swelled into that rubbing sound, faster, like 1,000 index cards being thumbed through at once. The lights overhead buzzed louder. The air tasted like toner burned on a hot drum. The guy's eyes flicked to my palm on the ledger. "Don't touch it like that." "Or what?" I said, and I hated that my voice was shaking. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The room answered for him. My fingertips tingled. Then they went numb. Then the numbness crawled up my hand in little lines like ink running through veins. The pressure behind my eyes tightened. I wrenched my palm away. On my skin, in the lines of my hand, there was black. Not smudged dirt. Not like I could wipe. It sat in my palm lines like it had always been there. I stared at it, and my brain did that thing where it tries to reject what's right in front of you by making jokes. It offered. Maybe you got toner on you. Maybe the pen leaked. Maybe you're losing it. Then the pen moved again and snapped me back. The nib scraped across the page, and my hand started forming letters. My first name, the way I always write it, with the little hook on the J, the shortcut curve on the R, because my handwriting's gotten lazier with age. My stomach dropped. I could feel the muscle memory being used against me, like the system was wearing my hands like gloves. "No," I said, and I dug my heels into the slick floor, trying to yank my arm up like I could rip myself off the page. It didn't lift. My forearm trembled so hard it hurt. The nib pressed deeper. The paper dinted under it like a wound. The guy watched, bored, like he'd seen this 100 times. "If you just finish, it's done," he said. "You walk out and you don't hurt." "Bullshit," I snapped. He shrugged. "You don't walk out then. You unspool. You smear. You become a problem in the margins. And then it takes longer." I said. "What is it?" "You keep saying the system like it's God." He didn't smile this time. He just looked at the shelves and the ledger and the filing cabinet like he was acknowledging his supervisor. "It's records," he said again. The word hit like a gavel. The whispering calmed. The nib paused mid-letter. That told me everything I needed to know about what had authority here. I felt something else then, behind the anger, behind the panic. A thin thread of clarity. I didn't need to beat him. I couldn't. Not in his room. Not in his rules. I needed to jam the machine. I needed to ruin the form. My hand twitched. The nib hovered. It wanted to go back to writing my name clean, legible, official. I forced my wrist sideways, just enough to make the letters go wrong. I dragged the nib across the blank line, making an ugly black slash that cut through where my first name was forming. The ledger shuddered like I'd slapped it. The shelves rattled. Books thumped softly against metal. That wet clicking sound, tongue on teeth, sped up. The guy's posture changed. His shoulders tightened. His polite mask slipped just a hair. "Don't," he started. I didn't let him finish. I shoved the nib down and wrote the only word my brain could grab like a weapon. Unfiled. Big letters. Angry letters. Sloppy. UNFILD. My hand fought me on every stroke. The letters came out jagged, like someone scrawling in the dark. The ink went down thick, too dark like oil. The second the last letter hit the page, the room went still. Dead still. No whispering. No rubbing. No voicing. The air held its breath. Then the lights snapped off. Not flicker off. Off. Like a breaker thrown in a basement no one remembers. In the dark, I heard drawers opening all at once. Hundreds. Thousands. A chain reaction of metal slides and plastic catches. Like a giant cabinet exhaling. Something brushed my cheek. Not a hand. A strip. Dry and thin, like a label being peeled. It grazed my skin with a papery kiss, and my whole body seized. I jerked my head away and felt it tug at the corner of my jaw like it had almost found purchase. The darkness wasn't normal darkness. It wasn't just lights off. It felt thick, like the room filled with black paper dust. My eyes adjusted and caught faint shapes. The outline of shelves, the pale rectangle of the ledger page, the doorway a darker cut in dark. I heard the guy move. His shoes made a small sound, too crisp. He wasn't panicking. He was repositioning, like he knew where he had to stand. "You just made yourself worse," he said, and the calm in his voice was gone now. His tone flattened, like a printer head grinding. "Good," I hissed, and my voice sounded too loud in the dark. The ledger under my hands was still warm. It pulsed once like a heartbeat, and I felt the black in my palm lines tingle. The drawers kept opening. The sound rippled outward like a wave. Something in the shelf shifted. Not a person, a mass, a sliding pressure. Books rubbing against each other. Paper on paper, a dry scrape that made my teeth hurt. I moved without thinking. I shoved back from the desk, nearly slipping, then caught myself on the edge. The guy stepped toward me. I couldn't see his face, but I could feel him the way you feel someone close in the dark. "You can't leave like that," he said. "Watch me." I spat. I bolted. I ran blind, hands out, shoulder, slamming shelves, books thudding to the floor with that heavy meat slap sound. I hit something that felt like cloth-wrapped cardboard, and it gave under my palm like a stomach. I almost went down. I caught myself, kept moving. Behind me, the paper rub sound changed. It wasn't slow sorting anymore. It turned fast. Angry, like shuffling, turned into ripping. The hallway beyond the door hit me like cold water. I stumbled through, half falling, and the corridor seemed longer now, like it was stretching to keep me. The lights in the hallway weren't fully out. They pulsed faintly, like emergency glow, flickering in little weak beats. Doors lined the hall, and the brass labels gleamed in that dim light like teeth. I ran. The floor felt slick. My shoes squealed and the sound vanished too quickly, like the hallway swallowed it. My breath came harsh. My lungs burned. Behind me, something dragged along the concrete with a dry rasp, like a stack of paper being pulled. I glanced back once and instantly regretted it. The doorway to corrections was a black rectangle, and in it I saw movement that didn't look like a person. Something thin and layered, shifting in sheets, like pages turning without a book, like a shape being assembled out of office supplies. I didn't look again. I sprinted for the stairs, but the hall didn't behave. The turn where the boiler door should have been wasn't there. The corridor stayed straight and patient. The doors on either side started to look the same. The labels blurred as I passed. Births, deaths, evictions, foreclosures. Then the same ones again, like the hallway looped. Fuck, I shouted, and my voice sounded small. The air got colder. The metallic ink smell got stronger. My throat tightened. The black in my palms tingled like a rash. A door handle clinked behind me. Not a footstep. A handle. I heard that wet tongue click sound closer now, like someone tasting the air. I veered toward a door at random. Marriages, and yanked the handle. It didn't budge. I tried another. Parcels. Locked. Another, deaths. The handle turned. The door opened a crack, and cold air poured out, thick with paper stink, and I caught a glimpse of shelves and pages and something moving between them like a clerk in the stacks. I slammed it shut and kept running. My arms were pumping, muscles screaming, and I realized my left hand was leaving faint black marks on the wall when I brushed it. Like soot, like toner. I looked down mid-run and saw the word unfiled on my skin. Not fully visible, but they are embedded in the palm lines as if my hands remembered it better than my brain did. A sound came ahead. Elevator ding. Impossible. The basement elevator doesn't go down this far. But I heard it clear as day, that cheerful little chime that feels like mockery when you're scared. I ran harder. The corridor finally shifted. I rounded a corner I swear wasn't there a second ago and nearly smashed into the basement stairwell door. The real one, the one that should have been at the bottom of the courthouse stairs. It was there like it had always been there. I didn't stop to wonder why. I hit it with my shoulder and it burst open. I took the stairs two at a time, hands on the rail, slipping once and catching myself, skin scraping metal. My breath tore. My legs felt like rubber. Behind me, from the corridor, came a sound that didn't belong in any building. A long ripping, like a roll of paper being torn endlessly. The stairwell light flickered and died. Then it came back. Then it died again. The smell of ink followed me up like a cloud. Halfway up, something brushed the back of my neck. I slapped at it without looking. My palm hit nothing, but my fingers came away with that dry, papery feel like I'd touched tape. I didn't stop. I burst through the basement door into the normal courthouse basement, the one with the maintenance closet and the pipes and the old smell, and I almost cried from relief at how boring it looked. Except the air behind the basement door was still cold, still thick, and when I glanced back, the crack between door and frame looked too dark. Not shadow dark, ink dark, like the hallway had stained it. I slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame and jammed the push bar with my foot like that would help. The door clicked shut. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then the push bar moved a hair like someone pressed from the other side gently, testing. I backed away, heart slamming now, adrenaline finally showing up and making a mess of my mouth. No, I whispered, and it came out like a plea. The bar settled back, not because it gave up, because it didn't need to force the door. I realized that as the fluorescent lights overhead buzzed and flickered and came on fully. Normal basement, normal pipes, normal water drip. but the air still tasted like toner. I ran anyway. I sprinted through the basement storage area, past the cages of old chairs and broken printers, past the boiler room door. I hit the stairs to the main level and took them fast, nearly slipping again. When I burst into the main courthouse corridor, the lights were bright, the carpet pattern still wrong, and the sound of people was like a wave hitting me. Voices, footsteps, phones ringing, the normal hum of bureaucracy. I crashed into a janitor cart because my legs were shaking and my depth perception fell off. Mop spilled. A bucket clanged. A janitor shouted, "Jesus, watch it." I didn't stop to apologize. I ran to security, waving my badge like it mattered. My badge, the plastic thing that used to be proof of life. Calvin looked up, startled. His hand went to his radio like he was about to call someone. Then his face tightened like he was trying to read a sign through fog. "Hey," he started. "It's me." I snapped, slamming the badge on the counter. "Look at me. Say my name. Say it." Calvin blinked. His eyes flicked from my face to the badge and back. He opened his mouth, hesitated, and then his expression softened into polite confusion like a switch flipped. "Sir, are you okay?" he said. My stomach dropped again, but this time it didn't shock me. It just hurt, like a bruise getting pressed. "You know me," I said, and my voice went low, desperate. "You called me earlier. You checked my badge." "You." Calvin held up a hand, slow, placating. Okay, just take a breath. You can't come behind the desk." "I'm not trying to come behind the desk," I snapped. "I'm trying to exist." He frowned like he didn't know what to do with that sentence. "Do you have identification, sir?" I laughed once sharp. "That's what this is." Calvin glanced at the badge again, and I watched his eyes do something weird, like they slid off the name Field without catching. Like there was nothing there worth seeing. He pushed the badge back toward me. "This doesn't have your name on it." I grabbed it and looked. The photo was still me, but the name Field was blank. Not scratched, not smudged. Blank like it had never been printed. Like the plastic had been manufactured that way. I flipped it over. The code strip was clean plastic now. No number, no pattern, no scuff. Just smooth. My hand shook. The black in my palm lines pulsed faintly, like it was amused. I shoved my hand in my pocket for my phone, like maybe the phone would anchor me. My lock screen lit up. No contacts. No call log. No photos. Just a setup screen like a new device. Language selection, terms and conditions. "Welcome." My breath went shallow. My throat tightened. I tried to swipe out of it. It wouldn't let me. Like the phone had never known me. Calvin watched me with that careful look people use when they think you're about to get violent or cry, or both. He shifted his weight subtly, angle of his body ready to move. "You need medical?" he asked. "We can call an ambulance." "No," I said, my voice cracked. "Call Marcy. Call records. Call." Calvin's eyes narrowed at the word records, not in recognition, but like it didn't fit. "Sir, I don't know who that is." I stared at him. "You work in a courthouse." He shrugged helplessly. "You're making a scene." That phrase again, like I was the problem, not the building that had eaten my name. I leaned over the counter, close enough to smell his coffee breath. "Listen to me," I said low. "Something is wrong downstairs." Calvin's brows knit. Downstairs is public. Basement is restricted. I was in the basement, I snapped. His hand went to his radio. "Sir, back up." The shift was immediate. A deputy across the lobby turned his head. Another guard at the far end straightened. The building had ears. I backed up because I didn't want to be dragged out like a drunk. I didn't want them touching me. I didn't want to see what my skin did under their hands. I looked around the lobby and caught sight of the overhead TV again. It played weather. Captions scrolled normal. No warning this time. No centered line. No help. People streamed past me like I was a shadow nailed to the floor. I tried something stupid. I stepped in front of a woman with a clipboard and waved my hand at her face. "Hey," I said loud. She flinched, not from seeing me, but from hearing sound. Her eyes went to where my face should be and slid away like looking at a bright light too long. "Sorry," She muttered automatically and sidestepped like she'd bumped into a trash can. My chest tightened. I tried again with a guy in a suit. "Sir." He kept walking, eyes straight ahead, like the sound came from somewhere else. I stepped closer to the deputy. "Officer." He turned, annoyed, and for half a second his gaze landed on me like he saw a person. Then his eyes blurred. His expression shifted to generic irritation. "Don't shout," he said. "Move along." He wasn't staring at my face. He was staring at the space I occupied like his brain was filling me in as an annoying noise source. Like a glitch, not a human. I backed away, skin crawling. Marcy. I needed Marcy. She'd looked scared. She'd admitted something. Maybe she'd still remember. Maybe she'd be able to pull me back, even if she didn't want to. I ran upstairs to records, dodging people, ignoring the way my shoes sounded too loud. I shoved through the office door. The records office looked clean. Too clean, like it had been reset. The guy, my name with a different face, sat at the desk that used to be mine. He was filing slips with that same calm rhythm. He looked up as I entered and smiled, gentle as poison. "You again," he said. I marched up to the counter and slapped my palms down on it hard enough to sting. "Where's Marcy?" He tilted his head. "Who?" "You know exactly who?" I snapped. "Supervisor. Sheet attitude. Talks like she's chewing nails. Where is she?" His smile stayed. His eyes didn't. "No supervisor by that name works here." "Bullshit." He leaned forward a little. "You're upsetting people." I looked around. The same alert postures. The same little shifting glances. Everyone's bodies reacting to me. Their minds refusing to. I pointed at him. "You're wearing my badge." He glanced down at his lanyard like he'd forgotten it was there. His badge gleamed under the fluorescent lights. "My name. My employee number." He looked back up. "It's my badge. It's my life," I hissed. His smile softened, almost sympathetic, and that made my stomach twist. "You don't understand," he said. "You think you're a person who happens to have records. But you're records that happen to be shaped like a person." I stared at him, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "You sound like a cult brochure." He shrugged. "You were fine until you looked at yourself." "Why me?" I said. "Why now?" He tapped the stack of death certificates beside him, neat and aligned. "Because it's scheduled." "What the fuck does that mean?" He didn't answer directly. He didn't have to. My own memory answered, the timestamp. 11:06, the crawl. The line about, next correction, 11:06. My stomach sank. "It happens every day." He smiled. "It happens when it has to." I reached across the counter and grabbed his badge. My fingers closed on the plastic. I yanked hard enough that the clip snapped and the lanyard whipped. People gasped, real gasps, because they could react to motion and conflict, even if they couldn't attach it to me. The guy didn't lunge. He didn't shout. He just watched me like I'd picked up a file I wasn't authorized to touch. I held the badge up. "Look," I barked to the room. "Look at this. Same name. This is wrong. I looked down. The badge in my hand was blank. No name, no number, just a photo. His face now, not mine, and the county logo. My breath caught. I flipped it over. Clean strip. No code. My hand started shaking so hard the badge rattled. I looked up at him. His badge still hung from his neck, intact, my name printed clear. He held out his hand. "Give it back." "Fuck you," I said, and I threw it at him. It hit his chest and bounced to the floor with a light plastic clack. Nobody reacted like a badge had been thrown. They reacted like a paperclip had fallen. Mildly. Then nothing. The guy bent, picked it up, clipped it back on. Smooth. He didn't even look bothered. "Every time you touch it," he said, voice still polite, "it changes for you. That's mercy. If you could hold on to the wrong thing, you'd tear yourself apart." "I already feel torn," I snapped. He nodded like I'd finally said something true. "Because you wrote yourself in the wrong place." My palms tingled. The word unfiled burned faintly in my skin lines like a tattoo applied with fire. "What does that even mean?" I said. "It means you refuse to be corrected," he said. "So you made yourself loose." "Loose," I echoed, "like a fucking paperclip." He smiled again, like a slip that never gets filed. I glanced past him and saw Marcy's desk. Someone else sat there now. Not Marcy, a woman with tight hair and a neat blouse, typing with the same clenched jaw posture Marcy used to have, like the job required you to harden. I stared at the woman. Something in my brain tried to match her face to Marcy's and couldn't. "You did it," I whispered, not to him, to the room. "You corrected her too." The guy's expression didn't change. Marcy was smart. She kept her head down. "That's not." My voice went raw. "She warned me." He blinked slowly. Then "She wasn't smart enough." I took a step toward him like I was going to jump the counter. Deputies shifted. The air tightened. People's bodies braced. He lifted a hand slightly. Not a stop gesture, more like a reminder. I remembered the basement door cracked open, like it had been left for me. I remembered the corridor that shouldn't exist. I remembered the ledger warm under my palms. This wasn't a person I could beat up. This was an intake clerk for something bigger. I backed away, breathing hard, trying to think like a person in danger, not a person in an argument. "Where do I go?" I said, and the question came out ugly because I hated that I had to ask it. He tilted his head. "Outside." "Outside where?" He shrugged. "Wherever you can be noticed." I stared. "So I'm just out?" He nodded slightly. "You wanted out. You wrote it." My mouth went dry. The words hit me weird because he was right in the most twisted way. I'd written unfiled like it was a weapon. I'd written it like I wanted to break the system. I hadn't thought about what being unfiled actually meant. No file, no index, no reference, no place. I turned and walked out because staying in that office made my skin itch. People moved out of my way without knowing why. Like their bodies could feel something wrong about the space I took up. I stumbled back down to the lobby, heart hammering, palms burning. The building felt different now. Not hostile, indifferent, like it had done what it needed and I was no longer its business. I went to the main doors and pushed them open. Bright afternoon sun slapped me in the face. The air outside smelled like exhaust and cold winter and a hot dog cart somewhere. The world looked too sharp for a second, like I'd been in fluorescent light, so long I forgot what actual daylight did. I stood on the courthouse steps and waited for something to happen. Sirens, someone shouting my name, my phone ringing with a contact that still existed. Nothing happened. People streamed around me. No one bumped me. No one looked at me twice. They walked around my body like their brains had decided there was an obstacle there without bothering to identify it. Like a trash can, like a mailbox. Across the street, in the records office window, I could see the guy at my desk, my name with a different face. He was filing slips, calm as ever. He glanced up, met my eyes through the glass, and gave a small, polite wave like you wave at a stranger you decided to forget. I flipped him off out of pure reflex. He didn't react. He didn't have to. I tried to walk away. I made a half a block before I realized I didn't know where away was. Not in a poetic way, in a real way. My apartment address was a blank in my head. I tried to pull it up and my brain offered the courthouse mailing address instead, like that was the only location it was allowed to know. I reached into my pocket for my keys and felt metal, felt the familiar shape, but when I looked at them, the keyring was wrong. The little worn tag I'd put on it gone. The spare key my kid's mom had given me years ago gone. It was just keys. Generic. I dug out my wallet. It felt light. Inside, cash. A few receipts. A library card that wasn't mine. A blank spot where my driver's license should be. My fingers fumbled through every slot like maybe it had slipped behind something. Nothing. No ID. No credit card. No insurance card. The places where those things had sat were empty, like they'd never existed. I stood on the sidewalk with my wallet open and felt the first real wave of panic hit so hard my vision blurred. I tried to breathe. I tried to think like a person who could solve problems. Step 1, go home. Find documents. Birth certificate. Lease. Anything. But the address wouldn't come. So I did the next thing a bureaucratic brain does. I went to another bureaucracy. I walked to the bank. I knew where my bank was because it was 3 blocks from the courthouse and I'd used it for years. My feet took me there on muscle memory, even if my head felt hollow. The bank lobby smelled like carpet cleaner and anxious people. I approached the teller, a woman with neat nails and a smile that said she'd seen every kind of lie. "Hi," I said, trying to sound normal. "I need to access my account." She smiled. "Sure. Do you have your card or ID?" "I don't," I said. "It was lost." She blinked, still polite. "Okay, what's your name?" I told her. Her smile held, but her eyes did that same tiny slide like they couldn't stick to the words. "Can you spell that?" she asked. I spelled it. She typed. Her nails clicked on the keyboard. "And your date of birth?" I told her. She typed again. Her brow furrowed slightly. "I'm not finding an account under that information. I've been banking here for 8 years. I snapped before I could stop myself. Her smile tightened. "Sir, I don't see it." "Try my social," I said. "Try." I stopped because my social wasn't in my head either. It was like a sticky note someone had peeled off my brain. I swallowed hard. "Can I speak to a manager?" She gave a little nod that felt rehearsed. "Sure." A manager came. A man in a suit with a tie too bright. He led me to a desk, sat me down like I was a problem to be handled quietly. He asked my name. I told him. He typed. He frowned. He looked up and said, gently, "Are you sure you're the right bank?" My hands clenched. "Yes." He leaned forward. "Do you have any documentation at all?" I opened my wallet and realized how pathetic it looked. Cash and receipts. A library card with a stranger's name. The paper felt sweaty in my hands. He watched me for a second, and I saw that familiar mental blur creep into his face. His attention slid sideways, like his mind was trying to find a category for me and failing. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," he said, still polite, but his voice had that edge of someone deciding you're not worth the hassle. "If you don't have identification, we can't help you." "I'm not trying to rob you," I snapped. "I didn't say you were," he said, "but you're making people uncomfortable." That phrase again, making people uncomfortable, like the world could feel the absence where my file should be. I stood up so fast the chair scraped loud. The manager flinched, not because of me, because of sound. I pushed past him, walked out of the bank with my fists shaking. "Okay, not the bank. Try my ex." I pulled out my phone again. It still sat on that welcome screen like an insult. I tried to skip it. It forced me through setup options like it didn't trust my hands. I picked random settings just to get to something usable. When the home screen finally loaded, it was empty. No obvisaídos de fotos. No saba Wi-Fi. No photos. No anything. I tried to type my ex's number from memory. My thumbs hovered. I couldn't remember it. I could remember the sound of his voice saying, "Who is this?" I could remember the way he sighed. I could remember the stupid way he used to say my name when he was annoyed. But the actual digits? Gone. I stood there on the sidewalk like an idiot with a blank phone and a blank wallet and ink in my palms that wouldn't wash off. I started walking again because standing still made me feel like I'd get scooped up by someone with a clipboard and put in a lost and found drawer. I passed a grocery store. I went inside because it was warm and bright and full of people who didn't care. I grabbed a bottle of water from a shelf and stood in line. When it was my turn, I set it on the counter. The cashier scanned it. $2.19. I handed her cash. She took it, gave me change. Normal. Her eyes slid past me as soon as the transaction ended. Like the moment I was no longer a customer, I was no longer a person. I stepped aside, unscrewed the cap, drank. The water tasted like water. Cold. Real. That helped a little. I went to the restroom and scrubbed my hands under hot water until my skin went pink. Soap. More soap. Nails scraping. Paper towels. The black in my palm lines didn't budge. It wasn't sitting on top. It was in me. Unfiled. I stared at my hands in a mirror and tried to say my name out loud. My mouth formed it. My tongue remembered it. The sound came out, but even hearing it didn't make it stick in the world. It felt like saying a word in a language nobody else speaks. I left the grocery store and walked until my legs hurt. I ended up at the county housing complex where I was pretty sure my apartment building used to be. I stood across the street and stared. The building was there. The same brick, the same stairwells, the same little fenced trash area. Relief hit me so hard I almost laughed. Then I looked at the mailboxes by the entrance. The names were different. I crossed the street fast, heart pounding. I walked up to the mailboxes like maybe I'd missed it. My last name wasn't there. I checked again, slower. Different names, different unit labels. Like the building had been reshuffled. I walked to the buzzer panel. I found my unit number because I still remembered that, somehow, and pressed it. A buzz sounded, not from my unit, from somewhere else in the panel, like the line was disconnected. I pressed it again. Nothing. A woman came out of the building carrying laundry. She glanced at me, then looked away like she didn't. "Hey," I said, "do you know who lives in unit?" She kept walking. Her face tightened, not in fear of me, but in that mild annoyance people get when a stranger tries to rope them into something. "Sorry," she muttered without looking at me, like she was apologizing to the air. I stepped in her path. "Please, just, do you know the name on unit?" She stopped, finally looked at me. For a second, her eyes caught mine, and I saw that same fog roll in. Her expression emptied. "I don't know," she said flatly. "Move." "Do you know me?" I asked, and I hated how pathetic it sounded. Her brows drew together, confused, annoyed. "No, I live here," I said. "I lived here." She stared at me like I was a street preacher. "Okay," she said, voice tight. "Well, you don't. So go." She pushed past me. Her shoulder bumped mine, and that contact felt real. Solid. She didn't pass through me. She didn't vanish. The world still had physics for me. It just didn't have recognition. I stumbled backward, stared at the building like it was a stranger wearing my home. I went around to the back where the trash area was. I didn't know why. Habit. The stupid little routes your body remembers, even when your brain is scrambled. The gate was locked with a new padlock, not the old rusty one. New. I looked through the fence slats and saw something on the concrete near the dumpsters. A familiar blue plastic bin, the kind you use for recycling, tipped on its side. And beside it, half in shadow, a stack of mail. I reached through the fence, fingers straining. I managed to hook the edge of an envelope and drag it closer. The envelope was addressed to my unit number, but the name on it wasn't mine. It was blank, not current resident, not a different name, just an empty line where the name should be, like the printer had skipped it. My throat tightened. I dropped the envelope like it burned. On the back of the envelope, in the corner where some companies print barcodes and sorting marks, there was a stamp. Void correction. I stared at it until my eyes watered. This wasn't just the courthouse. It wasn't just a database. It was everything that referenced me. Every system that needed a name and a file. Every place that asked, "Who are you?" and expected an answer from a record. I backed away from the fence and laughed once loud because if I didn't laugh, I was going to do something worse. I walked away from the building without looking back. I spent the rest of the day trying to brute force my existence. I went to the DMV because maybe that was the route. Maybe if I could get a license, the world would believe me again. The DMV was packed with annoyed people and fluorescent lights that made everyone look sick. I took a number. The number screen beeped. I waited. When my number was called, I approached the counter. The clerk didn't look up at first. "ID," she said. "I lost it," I said. "I need a replacement." She looked up. Her eyes flicked to my face, then softened into that same polite fog. "Okay," she said, like she was reading off a script. "Name." I told her. She typed. Pause. Frown. Date of birth. I told her. She typed. Her fingers slowed. "I'm not finding you." I leaned forward. "That's impossible." She shrugged, bored. "If you're not in the system, you're not in the system." I felt a hot flare of anger. I was in the system yesterday. She glanced at me like I was annoying. "Sir, I don't know what to tell you." I clenched my jaw. "Can you search by social?" "Sure," she said. "What is it?" My mouth opened. Nothing came. A blank space where the number should be. The clerk watched me struggle, and I saw her attention drift. Like her brain was already moving on. I swallowed hard. I don't remember it. She nodded like that confirmed something. Then I can't help you. I slammed my hands down on the counter hard enough to make her jump. The sound snapped a few heads in the waiting room toward me. Not recognition, just attention to noise. The clerk's eyes widened. A guard in a blue polo shifted in his chair. I lowered my voice, shaking. Listen, I need you to understand. I was corrected. The clerk blinked. For half a second, her face tightened like she understood the word. Then the fog smoothed it out. I don't know what that means, she said flat. It means someone erased me. I hissed. Her mouth pulled into a frown. Sir, if you don't calm down, I'm going to call security. I laughed ugly. Security won't remember me either. She picked up the phone. I stepped back, hands up, not because I respected her threat, but because I didn't want to be arrested as a nameless person. That felt like the kind of thing that would get you filed into a different drawer. A worse one. I walked out of the DMV and stood on the sidewalk feeling like the whole city was a courthouse hallway. That's when the thought hit me. Quiet, awful. Maybe unfiled wasn't freedom. Maybe it was exile. You can't exist in modern life without records. You can't rent. You can't work. You can't get health care. You can't prove you're you. You can't even die properly without paperwork. And I had just ripped my own file out of the cabinet. I started to shake, not from cold, from dread. My hands burned. The ink in my palm lines felt like a brand. I walked until evening because walking was the only thing that didn't require someone else to acknowledge me. As the sky went dark, the city lights came on and everything looked washed out. I ended up back near the courthouse without meaning to, like my body had a gravity toward it. The courthouse sat there, lit up, flags hanging limp. People came and went. Normal. I stood across the street and watched the windows. Records office window on too. I could still see the guy at the desk sometimes, moving papers, filing slips. At one point he looked up, and I swear he looked straight at me again, even across the street, even through glass and distance. His head tilted slightly, like he was checking that I'd accepted my new status. I wanted to run back in and burn the place down. I wanted to smash every computer, rip every index card, spill every ledger. But I knew, deep down, that wouldn't matter. Fire is a record too, a report, an incident number, a case file. If you're not in the system, you don't even get to be the villain. I slept that night in a bus station because it was warm and busy enough that nobody paid attention to anyone. I sat in a corner under a flickering light, hands stuffed into my pockets, trying not to look like a problem. A cop walked through around midnight, scanning faces. He glanced my way and his eyes slid off. He didn't ask me to move. He didn't ask for ID. He didn't see me as a person to bother. I was just static. I watched people come and go. People with luggage. People crying. People yelling into phones. Names being called over PA. No one called mine. At some point, I drifted off with my head against the wall and dreamed of drawers opening. Endless. Like thunder underground. I woke up with my hands numb. I pulled them out and saw the ink in my palm lines looked darker. The word unfiled felt sharper in my skin, like it had been pressed deeper. I went back to the courthouse in the morning because what else was I going to do? Wander until I starved? Wait until winter killed me? I needed answers, even if answers were poison. The courthouse doors opened at 8. I walked in with a stream of people, tried to match their pace, their posture, their normal. The lobby smelled the same. The overhead TV played the same morning show. The security desk sat the same. Calvin was there again, sipping coffee. I approached slowly. He glanced up, bored, then squinted like something wasn't lining up. "Can I help you?" he said. "No recognition. No retastion. Just generic." I leaned close and spoke low. "It's me. From yesterday." Calvin's eyes narrowed. "Yesterday?" "Yes," I hissed. "You checked my badge. You told me I wasn't in the system. You called me, sir, like I was about to do something. You remember." Calvin stared at me for a second, like his brain tried to latch. I saw it. That strain, like trying to remember a dream. Then his face relaxed into the fog. "Sir, I don't know what you're talking about." My chest tightened. "You were there." "I'm here every day," he said, tone flat. "What do you need?" I swallowed hard. I need to go to records. Calvin nodded toward the elevators. Second floor. I need basement access. Calvin frowned. Basement is restricted. I used to work down there, I said. Calvin's eyes slid off me again. If you don't have clearance, you don't have clearance. I leaned forward until my face was inches from his. Say my name. Calvin's jaw tightened. His hand drifted toward his radio. Back up. I backed up because that edge in his voice was real, even if his memory wasn't. Fine, I said, voice shaking. Fine, call your supervisor. Call anyone. Ask them about corrections. Calvin blinked at the word. For half a second, his eyes sharpened like something behind them woke up. Then he looked past me toward the hallway. His face went blank again. Sir, he said softly, you need to leave. The way he said it, soft, felt worse than anger. Like he didn't want to say it, but the building wanted it said through him. I stepped back and looked around the lobby. The TV caption crawl stuttered for one frame. Centered line, clerical correction in progress. Then back to normal. My stomach dropped. I checked the big lobby clock. 11:05. I hadn't meant to be there at that time. I'd wandered, lost track, drifted in circles like a moth. 11:05. My palms started sweating. The ink in my skin tingled like a warning. I turned and walked fast toward the exit because whatever happened at 11:06, I didn't want to be inside for it. But as I pushed through the doors, I felt it like pressure in my ears. Like the air thickened. Like the world tightened around a point in time. I stepped onto the courthouse steps. Cold winter air hit my face. I kept walking down the steps. Behind me, the courthouse doors clicked shut. Not slammed, not locked, just shut. I turned and grabbed the handle. It didn't move. I pulled harder. Nothing. Like the door had decided I wasn't a valid person to open it. I stared at the glass. I could see the lobby through it. People moving. Calvin at the desk. The seal on the wall. I pounded once hard. The glass shook. Nobody looked. I pounded again. Still nothing. My breath came fast. Hey, I shouted. A woman inside walked past the door, inches away, and didn't even glance. Like the sound wasn't coming from a person. Like it was just a noise from the building. I stepped back, chest tight, and realized the courthouse had just done to the door what it was doing to people. It was refusing to acknowledge me. I glanced down at my hands. The black of my palms looked thicker, like wet ink, unfiled. I didn't know whether that meant I was safe from correction or whether it meant I was about to be corrected in a different way, like shredded. My eyes snapped to the lobby clock through the glass. 11:06. Right on the dot, something changed in the building. Not visible, not dramatic, just a shift. People in the lobby all paused for the tiniest fraction of a second, like a video buffering. Then they resumed. I felt it too, like a tug on my spine. Like something reached toward my name and found nothing to grab. Like it got annoyed. The courthouse lights flickered in the window reflection. I stepped back from the door, heart hammering, and walked away fast because I didn't want to be near it when it got frustrated. I made it to the sidewalk and leaned against a lamppost, trying to breathe through the pressure. That's when I saw the city bus roll past. Big county services ad plastered on the side. Smiling stock photo family, clean letters. If it's not in the record, IT didn't happen. Under it, smaller, a line I swear wasn't there a second ago. Next correction, 11:06.